Once you've connected to the PigStick, you access the user interface by entering 10.0.0.1 in your browser's address bar. That takes you to this user interface, which is the primary user interface of the PigStick. The large area at the top is the magnetic window. This shows us magnetic inputs of all kinds. Right now we're looking at mag only. We're looking at strong magnets or MFL magnetizers. We can use this drop down to select ELF only. If we want to see only transmitter sources, then we would use this ELF mode. Otherwise, we can see both. We can turn on ELF and mag with that drop down. And now we're looking at two lines, the red mag line superimposed on top of the ELF transmitter line. The sensitivity of this user interface is currently on max. If I turn that down a little bit, we'll see that it makes a difference to the noise that we're sensing from my environment. I can go down from high to medium to low, etc. Which one you choose really depends on your environment, what sort of noise you have or traffic nearby, how strong or weak your transmitters are, how large your magnetizer is, how thick your pipe is. There's just a lot of variables to that. In general, though, you want to use the highest sensitivity that you can. The window time base can be controlled with this drop down. This controls the overall width of this window. It defaults to 20 seconds. If I take it to 10 seconds, we'll see that the speed of this window has increased, and it's now 10 seconds wide. It's now 5 seconds wide or 2 seconds wide. And we can go as slow as 60 seconds for the entire window. And again, that defaults to 20 seconds. It has a good feel to it. The window below is the geophone stream. Unlike the magnet streams, the geophone stream does not start automatically when you boot and connect to the PigStick. It is something that needs to be started manually by hitting the start button here. Once you have started that, we have the same sort of time-based control in this window. We can control how many seconds wide this window is. So if I tap on my desk here, we're going to see and hear that geophone input into the PigStick. In the geophone time window, we also have a volume control that lets you use a slider here to control the volume output to from your laptop or to your vehicle or whatever you may have. And there's also a mute button here. The mute button does not stop the visual indication, but if you want to mute it, you can do so with that button there. So once you have this interface up and you want to deploy it and talk about triggering on magnets or transmitters, I'm going to choose magnets only. So we're looking at the magnet only trace right now. We're going to try to arm the device and record a trigger. That trigger is going to appear in this job window down here, and we're going to go into jobs a little bit more. They help you organize your data into jobs. So as you work for different companies or have different jobs on different pipelines, you can create jobs that organize that data. Right now I'm going into a job that's called CDI job, and it currently has 15 passages in it. Each one of these cards represents a passage, and if I scroll down through there, we can see that there are 15 of them. So I'm going to arm the device right now in mag only mode, and you can know that it's armed in a couple of ways. You can see the button turned into a red disarm button, and then you also get the gold highlight around this entire window that indicates that it's armed. Our sensitivity is high, so I think we're in pretty good shape to cause a trigger here. So I have a magnet on my desk. I'm going to move, and we're going to cause a trigger. That trigger is filling this toroid. It stores 10 seconds before and 10 seconds after the trigger point, which is the dotted line in this window that we see going by there. The magnet indicates a trigger on the zero crossing. So if I do another one, we can see that right at the first zero crossing, we experience the trigger. It fills up. This takes that 10 seconds. And when it's finished, we now have two triggers that we just created. If I can click on this, we'll see the first one that we created. if I click on this one, we'll see the second trigger that we created. And again, the trigger time that is indicated here in text is where this dotted line is in both recordings. If I don't like this time for some reason, maybe I have a very long, noisy MFL tool, I can use, by clicking into this window or tapping into it with my finger on a phone, I can use a cursor to adjust that time. You can see this cursor time appears as well as I adjust that. So if I decide I would prefer to have this time where the gold line is, that is the time that's going to be put here in the cursor time. And I can place that cursor wherever I want. I can click again and move it. I have complete control over that. And from now on, that's the time that's going to be appearing in spreadsheets and reports. So in this trigger card, I also have a play button. I can play back these recordings as though they were happening in essentially real time. So you click on a card, this one perhaps, we click the play button, and we now are watching it play back in essentially real time. And that includes the audio. Audio is recorded for every passage that we create. I didn't create any audio during these passages, so we're not going to see any down here. But you can see that it's playing back the audio. I can stop that playback by clicking the stop button. Now for this trigger, I also have a pencil icon here that lets me change the title of it if I want. This number will appear in reports, the description and that sort of thing. You can change these things, and that changes the output in the reports. The little pin here would open Google Maps at the GPS coordinates where this trigger was recorded. And then, of course, the trash can will delete this trigger. So if I, let's say, go to this third one, let's say that I don't like this one for some reason, I can click the trash can icon and it will delete that one. I now have a short undo period that if I change my mind, I can stop that deletion from happening. So I'm going to disarm the PigStick for a moment. Again, we're still watching geophone output down here. That's still happening in real time. I'm going to put the PigStick in ELF mode. So I'm going to trigger on transmitters, and I'm going to arm the device. So it looks a little bit different. We now have the ELF mode on the screen showing us just transmitters alone. And then the capture settings for transmitters are slightly different. They have these orange lines. So rather than triggering on the zero crossing of an MFL tool, we're going to transmit on the strength or the threshold of a transmitter. So I can control this threshold by using the slider, and on a mobile device you would simply tap and adjust the slider. So what I'm looking for is to create a system where when a transmitter goes by, it rises above this threshold, and that's where it's going to trigger. So the device is armed right now. If I use my magnet and I simulate a transmitter passage, you'll notice that it triggered when the signal first crossed this threshold, and it recorded that trigger right here. So if I click on that, we'll see that trigger. I will use my magnet to create a transmitter passage. The trigger time is the dotted line there, and you can see that it filled that, and now we have a separate passage. So we have two. I can play those back just like I can with mag. So I can disarm that. I can put the PigStick into both ELF and mag mode and rearm the device. And now it's actually looking for both, you see. So it's looking for both zero crossings and thresholds. I can still control that threshold. I can make it quite large if I want. And then we're only going to trigger on magnets, perhaps, if I do it right. There we go. So I created a magnet trigger that occurred at that zero crossing there. The recording finishes, and now I can pull it up and look at it and play it back if I want to. The buttons here in this window allow me to obviously go back to the real-time playback. I can copy the time and date of the trigger to the clipboard. That allows me to paste it into a spreadsheet that I might be using. I can paste it into Global Track if I'm doing live tracking for free with Global Track. I can copy this image to the clipboard if I want to paste that into a spreadsheet or something like that. And I can also export it as a PNG image to my browser. So when I click this button, we actually get a download that occurs to my browser of that image.